Hello and welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed, and it is Wednesday. Today, we are going to be experimenting with the format that we have on this little podcast. We're not doing any guests, and for the first time ever, we are also not doing any topics because there are a couple things that I would like to get to. I just spent a little bit of time on a vacation out in Minnesota, and there's a couple things that are, I think, worth talking about. And I have a topic lined up for the next episode of this podcast, which is a continuation of last week's episode, which is Deadpool. So next week, we're going to be talking about Deadpool 2. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the things that happened to me while I was on vacation in Forest Lake, Minnesota, visiting my girlfriend's family, and a couple of other things that I have. I got some questions lined up from Instagram, and I got a story about a possessed doll that I can't wait to share with you. All right, let's boogie. Welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed, a.k.a. Roller Pig, a.k.a. the Sea Monster, a.k.a. the C Word, a.k.a. C-Section, and today is very special because we're not talking about any topics today. We're talking about topics. There's just not a topic for the episode. I wrote out the entirety of next week's episode with the intent of sitting back and getting right back into it and blowing the back out of this thing, but it didn't really, I don't think that it's worth it because I'm excited for next week's episode, which I've already kind of spoiled is going to be about Deadpool 2. It's the continuation of last week's episode. But first, I got a couple things that I want to touch on from my recent trip out to Forest Lake, Minnesota. If you've never been to Forest Lake, Minnesota, man, it's so my girlfriend's family has a lake house. And so going out and staying in Minnesota, it's always fun. We always have a great time, but I love her parents' house because it's right on a lake, and then you get to go out, you just spend time hanging out in the sun. I got sunburnt to shit. I have sunburn all over my legs and my face. I'm all brown and tanned up right now. Medium well, I would say. And we had a great time. It felt too short when we were getting back. I think one of the things that stood out to me about the whole experience is I haven't been on a vacation in a very long time. I've taken trips, but usually they're fast weekend runs where we're we went to Las Vegas a couple times, but that was we were on tour with the Negative 32 stuff. Before that we went to When We Were Young, and it's it feels like it's rushed almost. But one of the things that's kind of been standing out to me since I got back, I've been back home for a couple days and just flew into Arizona, which early as fuck, man. Fuck a red-eye flight. Whoever came up with red-eye flights can suck my ass because we got up. Minnesota has a 2-hour time difference from us. So when we came home, we flew out at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is 3 o'clock in the morning Arizona time. But that means we had to get up extra early to get to the airport. We got up in Minnesota at 2:30 in the morning, but Arizona, that's fucking 12:30 midnight. So that was terrible. I'm not a morning person. I was slow rising to get up for that one. And but anyway, without further ado, I think we should take a couple of questions from Instagram. Yay! Instagram! Q&A! Instagram! Q&A! Instagram! Q&A! Yay! All right. So first up, we got, what's your next tattoo going to be? Well, let me tell you. This is from Oz. Sorry, I should have said that. Nicholas Oz Perez asks, what is your next tattoo going to be? It's going to be so I'm a huge fan of the game Galaga. It's an arcade game where it's just a shooter game. You say, and I'm pretty fucking good at it. I'm not gonna lie. I will stroke my ego a little bit. I've gotten really fucking far on it. A handful of times. Like usually I've been able to set at least, if not number one, then 2 or 3 on every machine that I've played at. But I think most arcades, they usually they unplug it at the end of the night and they reset it so that it's like fresh every day. But anyway, there's a little sprite, like a little game character that's like he's he's green and he's at the top of the screen, but you have to shoot him twice to kill him. So the first form, and he's like green, and I think it looks kind of like I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but there's a green version of him, and then after he gets shot, he turns blue, and I think I'm going to get those on my wrists next. I think I want to get both the full health and then the half health of that, whatever Galaga sprite that is. I think it actually might be just called the Galaga sprite. I think that character might be called Galaga. I don't know. Maybe the shooter's called Galaga. I don't know much about the lore behind it, but I do know like it's been my favorite video game since I was a kid. I used to have a Nintendo or like a Game Boy Advance SP, and we had a Namco arcade game, and so we'd pop in the Namco arcade and we would play like Miss Pac-Man and regular Pac-Man, but I think Miss Pac-Man has acts to it, like acts where it goes like act 1, they meet, and then it plays out like a storyline while you are like playing the Miss Pac-Man game. That's where I got good at it. I got good at like I fuck heavily with Pac-Man. I know a lot of people think that it's like a corny old game. It's not. They're fucking fun. We played Dig Dug. There's a racing game that we used to play all the time. Mainly for me though, it was Galaga, Galaxian, Dig Dug, and like Pac-Man. Those were the big ones for me, other than like Pokemon. But yeah, I think I'm gonna get that tattooed next. What's something you've learned about yourself doing this podcast or making this podcast? Also comes from Nick Perez, a very good dude, solid, sturdy broad. Love that guy. And I think one of the things that I learned about myself from making this podcast is that I can make a fucking podcast. That was pretty astounding to me. And also, like, I would like for it to be known. I've been getting better at doing this. I have more of an idea, like a general idea of where things are going now that I didn't really have when I first started doing it. I'm talking to myself. I'm in the room alone. There's no one in here. You might be able to hear a fan a little bit every now and then, but you're going to have to get the fuck over it because it is, at the time of recording this, it is 9:45 p.m. First off. Second off, I live in a house. I don't have to worry about my neighbors. I don't have to worry about having fucking like apartment neighbors or anything like that. But it is late at night and it is over 100 degrees. So I can't fucking help it, dude. I'm a pussy. I'm a redneck from the mountains. I grew up where it was cold. I have thick blood, and I don't fuck with the heat as much as like the average person would that lives down here in the valley. So anyway, I think one of the things that I've learned about myself though is that I can actually fucking do it. I think that's honestly, like, a lot of people have always said, like, oh, I want to start a podcast. Well, like, it sounds like a good idea until you do it, and then you have to tell people about your podcast, and that's not always, like, I'm not going to lie, I get really, like, embarrassed and, like, shy and bashful about that kind of stuff. I don't like telling people about, like, I don't like telling people that I play in a band. I don't like people, and I don't play in a band at the moment, but I don't like telling people about like the band stuff. I don't like telling people that I do a podcast. I find it to be like embarrassing for a number of reasons, but like also just to be a 27-year-old dude that makes a podcast. It's like, of fucking course you do. Of course you make a podcast. So, but I do think that it's been eye-opening because like I did it. I was passionate about it. I'm the only one who works on it. It's a one-man operation. Like no one's sitting here feeding me fucking topics. No one's writing my questions for me. Like it's something that I'm like, I could as long as I do it and I care about it and I like just do it, I can do it. It sounds dumb to put it that way. I really don't know how else to like word it, but like I wanted to do it. I said I was going to do it. I started writing for it. And then now I do it. I do it every week. I've done a lot of it. So I think that that's really cool. Next question is, what's the next artistic / musical skill that you're working on building? So I have a couple ideas. Today, if you are listening to this podcast today, which would be Wednesday, July 10th, thank you so much, first and foremost. There's not going to be an incentive to follow or anything. I'm not doing a potty break. It's just going to be a shorter formatted episode. It's going to be a little bit experimental. But anyway, if you're listening today, July 10th, Wednesday, 2024. There's a video that accompanies this podcast, but it's not going to be a video of the podcast. It's a separate video that I did that I'm going to be posting on like Instagram and TikTok that just shows like the story behind a possessed doll that I came into possession of while I was in St. Paul, Minnesota. But what is something that I'm trying to explore artistically or musically? Well, it's not so much, there is music stuff that I want to explore. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I wrote everything that you're hearing music wise. Like I didn't ask anybody. I didn't commission anybody. The music that plays when I narrate the intro, the intro to the Visceral Musings intro music, and the Instagram Q&A, all that, I wrote all that stuff. So like I'm still actively working on music. I have new songs that I've been working on that they're serious. They're not all jokes. Like the podcast is mostly jokes. Sometimes it gets real. Sometimes it's talking about dicks and butts and farts and poop and whatever. But I think the next thing that I want to work on artistically, well, I know the next thing that I want to work on artistically is going to be the band. There is going to be like something that I want to work on because music's always going to be like an integral part of me, and it has to be something that I actively express myself with. The podcast, I want to get better at podcasting. I want to figure out how to grow it. I need to get better and more well versed in like there's an artwork and there's an art form to the marketing and to like expanding the podcast and bringing it to new ears. And like, I want to hopefully eventually switch over to like a more visual musings. I want to do more of like something where people can see it. I don't know how long it'll be before it gets to that point, but once it does, it's going to be a lot more difficult, especially to do those cold intros, those cold opens. They're fucking tough. I'm not even going to lie. Today I had a hard time doing the intro to this episode because I did the intro before I do the episode, which is like not always something that I do. But anyway, the next thing that I want to work on would be, so that video that accompanies this podcast, it comes out the same day as the podcast, is like, I want to do more videos. So I've been talking to my friend. I doubt he listens to the podcast, but if he does, shouts and tays. We've talked about like, you know, we used to do videos back in the day under the name Burrito Supreme, which they're up. They're on Instagram. If you ever want to go look at Burrito Supreme sketches, we did them when I was like 20. So like it was just our ideas. We thought that they were funny. We tried to do them. I didn't really know what I was doing with a camera, but luckily now I have friends that know what they're doing with a camera. I do want to get back into maybe not always doing sketches or something like that per se. Like that's always been like a huge a focal point or like an interest of mine. But I think I want to do more like videos and have them centered around like a topic that they're following something, and I can't really say too much about that. That's all I'm really going to say about that one, because I have an idea, depending on how this video does, that like accompanies like the story of the possessed doll, which we're getting to. I'm excited about that. Anyway, next question is, that one was also from Nick. Most of these are from Nick. They're from Oz. So shouts out Oz. He's a gentleman and a scholar, a generous lover, a very well endowed individual who doesn't have to take all the time that he doesn't get anything in return for doing this shit. He does it for love of the game. So shouts out. Eternal love and respect to Oz. Next, what's something that makes you legit cry when you think about it? Again, I vetted some of these questions. I didn't have to take this one, and I'm not going to get super real and personal right now, but I just thought, like, I don't really cry. I'm not much of a crier. I never really have been. I'm more of, like, the emotional, like, not internalization, but, like, not constantly outwardly emotional, I guess. One thing that really bums me out though is like it's such a weird feeling, and I feel like again I wouldn't tell like I'm not gonna do like a fucking authorized biography of my bullshit or like a trauma dump, but one thing that I think about a lot is that like it gives me like a lump in my throat when I do think about it is like when I was growing up, how we had a slew of issues when I was growing up. To put it lightly, I had a troubled upbringing, and like we struggled a lot. Like I grew up with just a mom and I grew up with just a grandmother. And I just remember like sometimes we were struggling so hard, but it was so normal. Like, by all accounts, I think it was the most normal it ever was in my entire life. For like this stretch of years where like my grandmother and my mom, they held everything together. They knuckled down because they were some badass bitches and they knew what they were doing. I don't know how, even when I think back now, how my mom and my grandma, well, mostly my mom, but like how they managed to hold everything together when everything was so like irreparably fucked most of the time. I really don't know how. I can't wrap my brain around it, but it makes me sad that I've never ever felt that sense of home ever again. And it's crazy because it came from this part of my life that was so like troubled and like it was a trying time for a lot of us. And like I don't know, that is something that I don't like. Again, I don't cry, but I will definitely get into like a rabbit hole. I'll just be staring into the void, blank stare. I have a little bit of lazy eye, so my lazy eye will get to being lazy, and I'll be sitting there staring into nothingness for hours on end. And then people will be like, "What's? Are you okay?" I'm sitting in a room, completely all the blinds drawn, lights out, staring straight into a wall, crisscross applesauce on the floor. There's no furniture in the room. There's cracks in the ceiling. I don't know. I get real weird about it. Another thing, artistic and musical skill that I'm working on building would probably be like, I mean, like I said, I'm working on the podcast, making episodes, writing jokes. Most of the jokes and like the topics that I write are for the podcast, but I want to be better at being a guest. So like, it's upcoming. I don't really want to say a whole lot, but I was recently asked to be a guest on somebody else's podcast. I'm really excited about that because we get to talk about things that I'm like, something in particular that I'm really interested in. So I'm excited about that. But you can probably hear my handicapped dog. If you heard a bark, don't be alarmed. That was a handicapped dog. He's a handicapped Pomeranian. He doesn't know what's going on most of the time. Maybe that'll be another video. But anyway, I've been working on a book that's like, it's a collection of miscellaneous things, mainly haikus, some short stories, and originally was going to work on it with my buddy. Can't say his name because if you look back in the back catalog of this podcast at the time of recording, his episode is pulled, and it's for a good reason. I wouldn't have just obliged for fucking I said something dumb. Now this person that I wanted to work on the book with though, we had this idea, and then he got like life came at him. He had kids and stuff, or has a kid, so it kind of got away from us a little bit. But I've actively been working on these like short stories and stuff that are I think will be really interesting to tie into like a book, and I think people might actually be interested in some of the things I've come up with. So anyway. I have one last question from Instagram, which also comes from Nicholas Oz Perez. It is, what is a hot take that you will die standing behind? Which, oh boy, I got a couple of them. First off, just to flick the bean a little bit to twist the knife on old Oz a little bit. I don't like Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I don't like Queens of the Stone Age. I don't know how he feels about Queens of the Stone Age, but I know he loves Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm going to stand behind that one. I don't fuck with Red Hot Chili Peppers. It just got ruined for me. It got overplayed. I don't see the hype. They have good songs. Like, I'm not going to say I hate everything they've ever done, but in general, they are just a band that fucking wears on me, and I just don't fucking like them. I don't know what. I wish I did. It seems like a lot of people are onto something that I'm not onto, and I just don't fucking like it. Number two, I don't like mushrooms. I fucking hate mushrooms, and I don't like seafood either. I don't like sushi, and I will stand behind. Well, I'm allergic to shellfish, so I can't really enjoy a lot of sushi anyway. It's cross-contacted with other things that I'm allergic to. But I don't fucking like fish, and I don't like mushrooms, and I definitely don't like mushrooms. Like, they fucking taste gross. They taste just like muddy water, and I don't like it. Even if you put like grilled, sauteed onions, still fucking nasty, gross. I want to fucking throw up in my pants every time somebody has mushrooms around me. It fucking pisses me off to see a mushroom on my plate. Like, you go and order like fucking a pizza, or like you're at a pizza party and you open, like, I'll be so happy, and then I'll open up the fucking pizza and there's mushrooms on it. I'm mad. My fucking day's ruined. My throat dries out. I'm angry. Okay, so the third thing that I wrote down, I don't know why I'm numbering shit, listing it off like you're looking at the shit. Me looking at my notes, I look like fucking Joe Biden looking at a teleprompter. I swear to God, I'm mouth hanging open, mouth ajar, staring at a page, like I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like I just got dollied into the bedroom and thrown into my chair. I don't even know. I don't know why I'm doing this. Last one that I have though is I think. Oh. Well, I just thought of something actually. I think that milk. Oh my God, this is so fucking dumb. Okay, so I think that milk or cheese or things of this nature, they taste better inside than they do outside, and I will die standing behind that. I don't think that, like, if you eat cheese or drink milk or something like that, I don't know how to explain this. Like, if you were eating cereal outside, like you're camping, if you drink the milk outside, it tastes different in a bad way. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else can explain this phenomenon of like dairy is only good inside. I don't know if there's like a combination of like fresh air and milk products, whether it's cheese or especially like milk. If I've had, like when I was in school, I just remember like taking milk outside for like my cereal, dumping it in my cereal or whatever the fuck the case may have been. Like sometimes I would just drink milk with my fucking pizza or whatever. I don't know. School was a wild time. They were feeding us sloppy joes and chocolate milk. So I just remember that milk always tasted off or bad outside, and I don't know why, and I still feel that way. If I have milk and like fresh air hits my tongue after I've had milk in my palate, it just tastes bad. But if you're inside, it doesn't. I don't know. That is a hot take that I will stand behind. Also, I'm not going to elaborate too crazily on this one, but I don't like the movie Donnie Darko. I know it's got a cult following. I know that people go super hard for it. They love the fucking rabbit design. They love everything about it. I don't like Donnie Darko very much. So, and I don't have to explain myself to you because you're listening to my podcast. So, next up. So we're done. We're done with the Q&A segment. But like I was saying, we're going to get to, this is the meat and potatoes of the podcast episode. This is so I just went on vacation, short-lived vacation, might I add. It was only about 7 days no, it wasn't even that long. It was like maybe, 5? Yeah, like 5 plus 1 buffer day, like after I flew in. And like we left early as fuck too, like I said. But anyway, so first off, I don't know if anybody can relate to this. I'm hoping so. I had to shit on an airplane. And we flew American, and I knew it was going to happen. I don't know if it was the pressure change, just like really conjured one up out of me. I had to get up, go to the little bathroom, push the little fucking foldy thing. It opens, go in there, cannot find a goddamn toilet paper, like a toilet seat cover thing. I don't know what you call them, but I couldn't find the little thing where you punch out the little hole and then it sits on the toilet seat sits on the toilet seat with you to protect your fucking penis and genitals from hepatitis or whatever the fuck kind of flesh-eating bacteria, STD, that lives on a toilet seat or can survive in such conditions. But anyway, couldn't find a toilet seat cover. Then I swear to God, and it was coming. At this point in time, I'm crowning. And I tried to put the toilet seat on it, like the toilet paper over the seat, it just kept falling in because like there's pressure inside of the cabin or whatever. So I don't know. It wouldn't stay still. So I was like, fuck, man. And I tried. And then it was coming and I was like, fuck it. I can't wait any longer. So I just like sucked it up and sat down on this toilet seat. Warm. That fucking made my skin crawl. I sat down. The toilet seat was already warm, which just tells me that somebody else who presumably has every disease that is transferable via toilet seat known to man had also just sat on this toilet seat. And so I'm already like, I was motion sick, had to shit, and it was solid, but that's not really adding any kind of like, it's not good. Still, like if you have to shit on an airplane, they're all bad. No one's ever had a good shit on an airplane. There's turbulence. You're 30,000 fucking feet in the air, and no, it was horrible. But anyway, I sit down. on a warm toilet seat, ready to also throw up through the gap in my legs. And I bumped the wall, and a secret compartment falls out that has hand sanitizer, toilet seat covers, extra toilet seat covers, as well as like other shit in a hidden compartment. Because, okay, I don't go on a fucking airplane to open drawers and to look for hidden fucking secret cabinets and shit like that. So that really pissed me off. That was a bad start to a flight that I don't like flying anyway. So like I was already bummed out to be on the airplane. Then I had to poop. Then I had to open the thing. It was a fucking mess of events. I was so upset. So I walked back to my seat, sit down, and then the stewardess cart comes around. And this is a little bit later. Like, I was sitting there working on some stuff. I was reading my book, which I never have time to read when I'm at home. It was so nice to sit on the airplane. I was reading comic books. I was working on my podcast and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, the stewardess cart comes by, and I'm stoked because the only time I ever really drink ginger ale is on an airplane. So I'm sitting there waiting for my ginger ale. I'm excited, trying to forget about everything that just happened in the bathroom. And so I got my ginger ale, and the stewardess, not even fucking kidding you, spilled hot coffee on my face and on my chest. And this is American Airlines. So if you're listening, fuck American Airlines. First off, no in-flight entertainment. You have to watch a bullshit video for 20 minutes of free Wi-Fi. Eat my fucking ass. But she spills hot coffee first on my face, and then like realized that she was spilling and moved her hand back and down my chest, all over my shirt, burned the shit out of me, and I didn't even know what to say. Like, it landed on, first it went in my mouth, and thank God it was fucking coffee. At least it was something decent that went in my mouth. It was hot liquid that entered me, and then it's all over my shirt and all over my book, all over my chest, and it got hot, and I was like, holy shit. So I was like, whoa, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, and I was like, you're good. I was like, fuck, man. Then I had to ask her for a napkin. Like, she's like, oh, she's like leaving, and then is like, well, do you need anything? And I was like, a fucking napkin would be nice. Hands me a 1-ply napkin and like one of them. And I'm like, can I get a couple more, please? Like, I'm covered in coffee. It was all over my book. Like my X-Men comic that I was reading, like, has dry coffee stains on the pages now that are like dyed and stained because of that. So that was something that really kind of fucking pissed me off, that I got hot coffee spilled all over my fucking face. And anyway, yeah, no, that was some actual bullshit. But it was nice though to sit. I didn't mind the plane ride. Obviously, we flew into Minnesota. Minnesota is amazing. Which sounds like weird to say. Like, I never thought I would hear myself say that, but Minnesota kind of kicks ass. First off, everyone in Minnesota looks approachable. Not everybody, but most people. If you are in Arizona, you spend any time around the ASU campus, everyone's hot for some reason. And for me, that's uncomfortable. Because I feel like they're making fun. I feel like I'm being judged because everybody's so good looking. Everybody in Arizona, Sky Harbor, like, they're all good looking, and it's like, fuck you. Like, of course you are. I hate that for some reason. Like, that's another thing that kind of pisses me off is like, why are you so hot? Like, why are you so good looking? And in Minnesota, you don't feel that way a whole lot. I mean, like, there are, but for the most part, people just look like they're big, muscular, but regular folk, and it's not a very try-hard community. It feels very normal. You don't see a bunch of you don't really notice how much peacocking you see in Arizona until you go to other states, but Minnesota doesn't really come across like, you better fucking, like, the dudes walk around with the chest puffed out. They're covered in, like, they wear fucking, men wear the sluttiest clothes in Arizona. Those like barely tank tops that are completely like, they're just ripped shirts they're barely even on, and then they're wearing like shorts with like a 3-inch inseam, and you can see their fucking dick and balls just like plastered to their muscular thighs, and you're like, man, fuck you. Of course you got a huge dick and short shorts, and you look good in them, and you fucking got a tan, and you have better teeth and better hair than me. And in Minnesota, it's like, oh, this guy looks like somebody that I might want to actually sit and have a beer with. He doesn't look like he wants to fucking fight me. So I don't know. I enjoyed that. But so there's not much to cover as far as like the vacation week, because most of it was just like wholesome, hanging out, family stuff, reading books, watching TV, going on the lake, going swimming. It was a lot of fun. But we did get an opportunity to poke out. We got an opportunity to go poke around some of these antique stores that they have in St. Paul. And we didn't go to Minneapolis, but I do want to go and like explore the cities a lot more, because like it seems so fucking cool. Everything's brick. There's a lot of old cathedrals, and I don't know, all of it looks amazing. I wish I could have more time just to go and explore for a day or something. But we spent the 4th of July out there, got to see like the fireworks over the lake and stuff. It rained a lot, which like I think was a bummer for some of them, because like they wanted to go spend time on the lake. But I like also just the rain was nice, because it hasn't been raining in Arizona like that. But anyway, back to the point. We go to St. Paul, and the intent was to go to find like I like oddities and like curiosity shops and stuff like that, where you go and look at like those things. They have like all kinds of stuff, like horror themed stuff, or like possessed dolls, or like human bones, and like taxidermied animals, just stuff like weird trinkets and like souvenirs and whatever. So I wanted to go find one. So we did. We found one, and we went. And it was kind of like a collector's marketplace type of feel. Like there was like little booths, and each one of them had like something that was individual to like. It was very personalized to the individual that owned the stuff that they were selling. So that was cool. And then then I started to find some of like my girlfriend found it first, like just a case full of human bones, like teeth, and then there's like old pictures of like convicts, or like funeral pictures and stuff. Just weird shit that's like, it's cool. It's novelty stuff to go look at. And so we left that venue, and we went over to a little antique shop. Like, also, quick shouts. We went into this little coffee shop to use the bathroom, and there was these two ladies that worked there that were just the absolute salt of the earth, fuck me, god damn it, enunciate, salt of the earth. Just sitting in there, minding their own business. It was a little candy shop. It was kind of like Sweeties in Arizona, but it's a lot smaller. And they were just sitting there, minding their own business, being adorable, feet up. They got a little coffee shop in there. We got a tea, and that was really nice. Like a lot of people in Minnesota they're a lot more friendly and nice and pleasant than most of the people that you'll encounter in Arizona, especially in like a customer service context. But anyway, so we went over to this. Oh, actually, you know what? Real quick, just to throw some more shade. Fuck the Starbucks in Forest Lake, Minnesota. I can't even begin to, first off, rude fucking bunch of people. Horrible customer service. Super fucking rude to me. Every time I went in there, fucked up the drinks. They were like one time this lady messed up my Americano because she put too much water in it, then dumped out too much water, added more, and then topped it off with ice. And I was like, hey, this tastes like mostly water. She's like, yeah, it's an Americano. And I was like, fuck you, bitch. What the fuck I know what I ordered. Like, why are you mansplaining to me and then I had to tell her, I was like, I just watched you dump out half of it and fill it up with water again. So I was like, that's probably why it's so watery. And anyway, so no, Forest Lake, Minnesota, Starbucks, if you ever hear this, which I'm sure they're all avid listeners, fuck you. Fuck you so much. They were such a bunch of dickheads. I can't even, I don't know. It frustrates the shit out of me to think about how fucking terrible they are. It's whatever. Just scabs of human beings for real. Like just herpes of human beings. But anyway, on the bright side, before I get to my final point of this podcast, Caribou Coffee, which is like, it's kind of like a mixture between Dutch Bros and Starbucks that is just infinitely better than any of those fucks that you'll ever encounter at Starbucks in Forest Lake, Minnesota. Go to Caribou. Don't go there. They're a bunch of dicks. Anyway, back to the point. We're in St. Paul. We go to this antique store. I find a Raggedy Andy. And so here's what I think. So for context, because the video may not give you as much context, my girlfriend's mom does not enjoy horror movies. She wasn't overly stoked on the fact that we were going to like a curiosity shop. She's not really into that like creepy stuff. It's just not her. It's not her bag, not her cup of tea. So while we were walking around in this antique shop, which was also run by another group of adorable old ladies who were just super sweet, very nice and helpful, I found a Raggedy Andy next to a Raggedy Ann. And so I had the idea. I told my girlfriend, I was like, why don't we buy this for your mom and tell her it's possessed? And then, so we're walking around with, I put the Raggedy Andy down, and then we're like, well, we got to find like something to go with it. And then I was like looking through this old photo album that's just like full of pictures of people that are long since dead. And then I find this picture of this little girl with like a bowl cut, like bangs. I don't know. And so I was like, this is creepy. So why don't we get the two together and then we'll come up with a backstory for it. And we're like, cool. So we're like, well, we'll just stop at like a Hobby Lobby or something and go find like a shadow box to put it in. That'll make it creepy, right? So we're looking and the lady's helping us look for it. We cannot find anything. So I was like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll just buy the doll. We'll buy the picture and then we'll leave. Not even kidding you. We walk out the store and sitting on the ground is this old steel like bird cage that has it opens from the bottom. So like when you open the latch, it opens from the bottom. It's creepy, it's old, and I was like, this is perfect. My girlfriend was not on board with it. She's like, this isn't, I don't know. So I picked up the doll, put it inside of it, and like you had to spread its legs to get it to sit up. And making it sit up with the picture inside of it, it was so creepy. Like immediately we were like, yeah, this looks legit. So I go back inside, buy the bird cage from the nice old ladies, and then I had them write on a note that says, do not open. And so she's like, I'll write it in red so it looks really creepy. And then so she goes and gets the Post-it note, writes, do not open on it, which is like, it clearly is not my handwriting, because if I would have wrote it in my handwriting, it would have been more recognizable. So we do that. And then we leave, and I was thinking that we needed like a cross or something to go in it. So we're looking again through this antique shop, looking for a cross or like a cross necklace or something. Cannot find anything. So we're getting discouraged. And then I was like, well, why don't we go back to that collector's marketplace? Like that, it was kind of more of like a curiosity shop than the antique store that we were in. So we go in there, and then I find this rosary from this like Catholic church rosary thing, and it was really pretty, but it gave off a more official, like, I don't know, Catholic Church, Vatican vibe to like, keep the evil spirits contained within the doll and little, I don't know. So I grabbed that, bought that, draped it over the top of the bird cage, and it became a nightmare. Like it was actually creepy. I was thinking about this too so we put it all together, and I was really happy with how it came together. But then I had to sit with it down by my feet on the way back to because it's like it's a drive from St. Paul to Forest Lake. So we're driving back, and I just kept thinking like, we're gonna fucking die in a car accident, and then this like possessed doll is gonna actually become like a thing. So I taped the do not open thing to the bird cage, took the picture, the video or whatever. And yeah, so we had to drive with it down by my feet. And I was a little like in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm probably being ridiculous. But then I started to think like, we're going to actually bring some kind of like bad vibe to this doll. And so it's going to become like an actual story. And like, we're going to get in a car accident, and they're going to see it. They're going to find it at the crash scene, and it's going to be in perfectly intact, good condition. We're going to be, I don't know. That's all I could think about. So anyway, we get home safely. And then I went and gave it to her mom, and her mom to like put it like, she didn't enjoy it. She didn't think it was very funny. We did. And she was like, why are you trying to curse me? And so she left it there, and I did not tell her that so the story that we came up with was that the little girl's name was Tabitha. That's the name that we assigned to the young girl in the photo from probably the 1950s, maybe even earlier. I don't know. Said that her name was Tabitha. She died from the flu, and that was her Raggedy Andy doll that was in the cage with her. And so the rumor is that she attached herself to the doll, and then bad things start happening. And so the rosary was put there by the Catholic Church to contain whatever had attached itself to this Raggedy Andy doll, to keep it at bay inside of the cage. And it may not sound believable, but when you're looking at it and like holding it, it was creepy. I was creeped out by it, and I knew it was fake. So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with, like, it says something about how easy it is to dupe people with this type of shit. But honestly, I thought it was really cool. I was pleased with myself. And but anyway, I did not tell her that I made it up. I only told everybody else. So we just kept it up the whole time we were there. And then I finally called her I had to get her approval and permission to post the video on the condition that I blurred her face out, which I already was planning on doing, but I made sure that she's blurred out. You can't see anything that has to do with her. So shout out to Hannah. I know she doesn't listen to this podcast and probably never will, but I'm glad that she was a good enough sport about it to let me post that video. And that was definitely like a massive highlight of us going to Minnesota. And, but yeah, receding back into real life after being on vacation fucking sucks. I wish that this was my job. I wish that, like, I didn't have to constantly make time for this. I wish that I had to make time for other things because the podcast was my priority, but it isn't like that. And it bums me out to have to go back into like regular, like I worked today, and I don't really like the place that I work at. And so, yeah, it's very nice to be sitting back doing another episode of Visceral Musings. And so with that, that's going to bring us to the conclusion of Season 2, Episode 6 of Visceral Musings, A Possessed Doll in St. Paul. And one thing I like to do with every single episode is a top 3. It can be movies, can be music, can be TV shows, can be whatever I'm into. And so here are my top 3 for this week, the week of July 10th, which would actually not be the week of July 10th. It would be the week of July 9th, but today is July 10th. When it comes out, today is actually July 9th. But anyway, my top 3 are Mouse, which is Maus. It is a comic book, graphic novel by Art Spiegelman about the Holocaust, but it's demonstrated through mice and cats. And it is beautiful and heartbreaking and tragic. And I'm captivated by it. Like, I've been reading it. I started reading it. I read it in high school, and then I don't know how, but I forgot how fucking heavy and emotional and perfect it is. And reading it again, I started reading it in Minnesota when I finally had time to. We have a nice hardcover copy of this book, and I love it. But anyway, I finally got some time to sit and look at it and read it and start like picking it apart. And man, like I'm so captivated by it. And like, I know that a lot of it is true. And it's just like hearing details from like firsthand somebody who was in the Holocaust, even if it's fiction, even if it's told by mice, just like it reminds me, one, of how much I love to read about World War II, but also just how fucking horrific the Holocaust was. And like, I feel like it's an important story that needs to be told and maybe even like brought to life in some kind of like something like a Netflix show or something, some kind of cartoon that can just show, like, in my mind when I read it, some of the times, like when I'm looking at the illustration, sometimes I just picture it in like a Wes Anderson style, something like that, something like Fantastic Mr. Fox, or like, I don't know, something like that, Isle of Dogs, that just kind of like shows you how fucking horrific it was and like the story that this guy is telling and how heartbreaking it is. Anyway, number 2, X-Men by Jonathan Hickman. I'm a big Hickman fan, and like reading his story, his take on the X-Men, where, you know, it's Cyclops, Jean Grey, like Emma Frost. I love Emma Frost. Mystique ends up kind of being in it, but like, I don't know, it's really cool to read those stories where it's like Apocalypse, Magneto, and Professor X all at like a World Summit meeting where they're cooperating, and like the story behind it is just it's very exciting, and I like the little informational things that it's kind of like a chart or whatever. It kind of like a glossary almost that defines like what they're talking about, or like maps that kind of show you like what they're trying to convey. Like it's really cool. It almost makes it feel like scientific in a way. I don't know. Really cool story. I really enjoyed it. I read it cover to cover, and I'm gonna read it again because I know there's shit that I missed. It's that good that like I already want to dive back into it and kind of like figure out the gaps because it's exciting. And then last up, the rapper POS. Shouts out to Minnesota because I was just hanging out there. POS from Minnesota. One of my favorite rappers. He's got Ipecac on through his more recent stuff, which would be like Chill Dummy. He did Shredders. He has a new project out called, I think it's called Relay, or maybe that's the name of the name of the album might be Relay. I don't know. Always been impressed by and inspired by POS. I know that I don't know everything about him. I know that he disappeared. I probably don't want to know why. I'm sure there's something shitty about it that I don't want to know, but like, I don't know. I just went in a POS rabbit hole. And like, I know that Prof is also from Minnesota, so that's another one, another big one. Stop House, big fan of Prof, big fan of POS. Those are like two of the rappers that I've been kind of like doing deep dives on again recently. Mainly POS though. I never really listened to Chill Dummy as much as I probably should have, and like re-listening to it now, I'm just kind of like, man, this guy fucking spits. He's got so many interesting ways of like, so. There's a newer song called Relay where like you get to listen to how POS can kind of like, he gets creative with his flow on like, he raps over a beat in a way that you wouldn't expect him to. And like, I mean, obviously he's a great lyricist. He's got, like, if you listen to Pure X or if you listen to Let It Rattle, anything, Gimme Gunshots from Ipecac he's just always been, he rarely misses. And like, I don't know, fucking love the dude. Met him one time out in Seattle. We watched him when he was playing with Four Fists, which is him and Astronautilus. Anyway, so that concludes this episode of Visceral Musings. That was my top 3. Be sure to follow us on all the socials. Follow the podcast at Visceral Musings Pod on Instagram. Be sure to follow us on God damn it. Follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook, whatever the hell you do over there. Follow my personal Instagram at ThatRollerPig, and be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're listening for free, which is exactly what I would do. Be sure to subscribe, fondle that little bell to stay notified on all things Visceral Musings. Be sure to tickle that like button and give us a slap on the behind in the comment section. Anyway, my name is Cody Reed. Thank you for hanging out with me once again every Wednesday, Visceral Musings. I will see you next week when we talk about Deadpool 2. Take us to the intro music.